Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in this workshop, LinkedIn 101 by Muazma Zahid. Myself, Hamna Javed, pursuing Bachelor's of Science in Physics from Air University, Islamabad, and working as a social media director of SPY Air University chapter. Society of Photo Optical Instrumentation for Engineers is an international society with an advanced interdisciplinary approach to the optics, photonics, and applications of light. Apart from it, SPY work for the professional development of its student members also. In Pakistan, SPY has its 4 chapters working, and SPY Air University chapter is one of them. Dr. Zakwan is the only professor of optoelectronics in the Air University, and he is our advisor. Our supervisor is Sir Shujat. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Hamna. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm Sarah Jawad, and I'm the community lead of Air University Women in Computing, a women in tech community which empowers, inspires women in computing and computing fields. And with us, we have Ma'am Muazma Zahid, who is the Principal Engineering Manager at Microsoft, the President at Pakistani Women in Computing, and she is an inspiration for so many women, especially in tech. So we will be talking about why LinkedIn is important and how you can benefit from such a platform. So yeah, let's begin, and over to you, Ma'am Muazma.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I hope I'm audible and my screen is actually visible to all of you. This 1 hour, we will be talking about LinkedIn. I would have some work for you to do on your LinkedIn profiles. I'll share about the best practices of LinkedIn. And also there would be some resources at the end that I will share. At any point in time, if you have a question, please feel free to leave them in the chat window. We will get to them towards the end of the session. And if you have really a burning questions, feel free to kind of use the raise hand feature, and we can get to that as well. So with that, again, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Muazma Zahid, as I was introduced. I am a Principal Engineering Manager at Microsoft and President of Pakistani Women in Computing. A little bit about myself. I have been in the tech industry for over 14 plus years. Graduated from NUST back in 2006. I am super passionate about cloud computing, data, and AI, and I participate in a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, which means that providing mentoring, providing support, providing resources to folks who don't have the same that I have today, right? So as part of those efforts, I lead a global nonprofit called Pakistani Women in Computing. I also lead Anita B. York Seattle community, which is the largest women in tech network. And I do a lot of participations in hackathons and speaking engagements and things like that. If I am not able to get to your questions, feel free to reach out to me on my LinkedIn or Twitter, or this is my link tree where you can find me on other social media platforms as well. Again, I believe that LinkedIn today is the center of how you actually meet and build connections professionally, and it's a really important tool. So with that, let's get started. So this is the agenda how I will cover this workshop today, this session today. We'll talk about what is LinkedIn, why you have a professional brand and why it's important. How do you build your LinkedIn profile? What are the important sections? What you should know about? And then I will talk about the professional network on LinkedIn. I will also talk about how you do search for jobs on in LinkedIn, and then other ways how you can do that. And I do have an exercise for you to do at home. I do also want to mention that I'm an official LinkedIn coach, so these slides are actually by LinkedIn. None of these are made up by me. So I've actually gone through a LinkedIn coaching training by LinkedIn. So a few folks actually go through that, and then with that, they can actually help others to present the same material as well. So none of this material is created by me. So just wanted to mention to all of you. Again, as I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the chat. So I'll start with giving you some stats. So this is a universal fact about throughout the world that 9 out of 10 employers actually use LinkedIn as one of the steps in their hiring process. I don't have specifically the data for Pakistan, like how Pakistani recruiters and Pakistani companies are actually using LinkedIn, but this is something I really want to like look up and find out more about. But this is a fact about throughout the world. 9 out of 10 companies actually use LinkedIn in the hiring process for one way or the other. Either they use it for the job posting or finding the folks, or for looking at your profile, or directly connecting with you and sending you some invitation to interview as well. Some of the other numbers about LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a professional social media network. If you don't know about LinkedIn, so today by the end of the session, you would know a lot more about LinkedIn. If you already are on LinkedIn, then that's amazing. I would be talking about like how do you actually stand out in the sea of so many profiles that are existing there. There are 50 million plus employers on LinkedIn with millions of open opportunities every single day. So there's like sky's the limit. There is no limit in number of opportunities that are available on LinkedIn. There are more than 706 million professionals, over 200 countries that are on LinkedIn. And in terms of some specialty groups, there are about 2.9 million groups as well. So you can imagine the scale. You can imagine how huge it is and how many different types of folks are on LinkedIn. Almost anyone that you want to reach out to, or if you have a role model in any case, is available on LinkedIn. So the LinkedIn is definitely a place to go for professional connections, for professional networking, and actually find some great folks to connect to for your personal reasons, whatever your personal reasons are. And we are going to talk about that in a second as well. So let's start with some very basic things, like why we are talking about LinkedIn, why it is important. I don't know if you heard about personal branding or not, if you know about what a personal brand is. But today in the era of digital first, everything is online, especially in the last year or so, we all are actually online. So it's really, really important that we understand that we all of us actually have a brand. And that brand has different perspective to it. The brand that is our personal brand, the brand that is our professional brand. So in this session, I'm talking about your professional brand, because a lot of you would be actually on a lot of these other social media platforms like Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, and I don't know, like I don't really keep up with all of these new ones that keep coming up, right? But I'm talking about LinkedIn here, which is the professional brand. As I said, like a lot of recruiters, a lot of companies, a lot of people actually come to LinkedIn to find folks to hire them. Let's say if I have an opening in my position, I would go on LinkedIn and actually look for people who make sense to me, right? So why it is important that you actually know about it, why it is important that you stand out, and why do you build this professional brand on LinkedIn is really important. So let's talk about what is a brand and what is a professional brand. So I'll talk about three important things. The first thing is what makes a good brand. The second thing I want to talk about is identify your brand. And the third thing I want to talk about is show that you are the right choice. And these are the three important things that if you consider and if you can answer, you can get to define your brand in your own way rather than somebody else coming in and defining it for you. So let's talk about the first question. What makes a good brand? So today, if you take an example of, let's say, cell phones, and you want to go and buy a new cell phone, how do you decide that you have to go for this XYZ cell phone versus something else, right? How do you do that evaluation? Most probably you would be actually looking at the features. You will be looking at the things that brand promises, and that brand promise is something that you will buy for. And this is the very reason why in a few years back, Apple had a way higher advantage than a lot of these other phones, for example. Again, they were distinguishing in the market. They had some niche kind of features that were not available at that time. I know a lot of other brands have now cashed up and maybe doing better than them, but that's just one example I'm giving you. So the point I'm trying to make is, what is the one promise that you have for the company who is actually going to hire you? Why you are unique? Why should I hire you? So if you can answer that question, if you can understand like what are the skill sets and things that you bring to the table that a lot of other folks who are maybe applying for the same role might not have that. So that's the first thing that you have to define and understand, that what makes you a good brand. And I'm talking about you as a professional brand, you as the things that you do at your university, outside of university, the projects that you do, and all of the professional stuff that you do. So how do you actually convey that on LinkedIn. And we are going to talk more about that in later part of this workshop as well. So wait, this is something a lot of people get shocked about. So wait, I have my own brand. Yes, we all have our own brand. So today, if I go on Google or Bing, what is that I'm going to find about you? If I search your name over there, what are the things that I'm going to find about? And that's a very easy exercise today, right now. You all can go and find out if there is stuff about you on the internet or not. Again, this is the world that where everything is digital. People can get access to information really, really fast. So it's important to understand that what do you put out there is going to stay out there as well. It's not really easy to go and just basically go and delete it very fast. So the good news in this whole story is that you can shape that as well. Because if you are in these social media platforms, especially in LinkedIn, as a professional brand, you can build your profile, you can build the connections, you can build the version that you want the world to know. And that's why we are talking about this session today and talking about how LinkedIn can be used to build your professional brand on the internet. The things that are important for any brand are the value props, right? What's the value of that brand that I should go for? So why should I choose you? That's the answer. That's a question you have to answer to be unique or to be yourself on any of these social media platforms. And I think it stands true for other places as well. But professionally, it's really even more important that you stand out, because every single time there is a job opening, there would be thousands of applications or maybe hundreds of applications for that job. So why should a hiring manager or recruiter should connect with you as compared to other folks, right? So that's the question why we are focusing on that. There are different things that you can actually showcase. You can showcase the school or the college that you went to. You can showcase what to expect from you in terms of skills. You can showcase your projects, and then a lot of other stuff that is unique about you. And again, we are going to talk about different sections of the profile, and you will get a chance to actually update your LinkedIn profile as we talk about that today as well. Some of the other things, as I mentioned, in terms of why you are the right choice, the number one thing is, of course, skills, right? If somebody is trying to hire you, they want to understand what skill sets that you bring to the table. And LinkedIn has a specific section for skills. You can actually get endorsements for your skills, and you can actually start with some basic skills and add on to that as you progress in your career. The second important thing in LinkedIn, which is unique and which is different than a typical resume, is the network. So you can build the network, you can find the mentors and allies and sponsors, and eventually the people who can eventually hire you. So it's really a great place to find folks, people who inspire you, people who are that do similar things like you, and you can build a network with them. And again, we are going to talk about that. How do you effectively build a network on LinkedIn? And then the last area is information. LinkedIn started off as a recruiting platform. Right now, people use it as an influencer platform. People use it to share information. People use it for marketing. People use it for a lot of these other reasons as well. So if, let's say, you have a company, you have a brand, you can use the articles and posts and things like that to actually get better reach that you don't might have in other places, like organic search, like people come and search for something and then they get to your website. If you have a great following on LinkedIn, you can build that over time as well. So that's another benefit of LinkedIn and how you can build your brand on LinkedIn. The last but not least, this is something really important for me, is not just the skills and the typical things that a lot of people look at. Is some of the other things that you can showcase on LinkedIn is your values and goals. Some of the values could be, let's say, if I do a lot of volunteer work, I do mention that in my LinkedIn profile. Why? Because that's my authentic self. That's something that I'm really passionate about, and I talk about that in a lot of places as well. So I do showcase that on my professional brand. So whoever is my future employer has to know those things about me as well, because those are things that are important to me. And then there could be other things that you can mention, and you can talk about your goals, aspirations, and other things on LinkedIn as well. Again, we are going to talk about the different sections on the LinkedIn profile, and you get a chance to know more about that in there. So let's just summarize this first section that we talked about so far, which is what is your professional brand. So I want all of you to take a moment right now and think about 3 words, how you think some of your close friends define you. and think about some of the 3 words, how somebody in in a professional network, like maybe your instructor or somebody that you did a project with or internship with, if you have an example of that, how you think they would define you. Why it is important, we'll get to in the later section, and we get to use these 3 words. So I'll take a pause here. Please take 2 minutes and write down in the chat 3 words, how you think your friends define you, and how you think your colleagues or somebody in professional network, maybe somebody who did a project with you in your university, or your teacher or instructor, how do you think they would define you? So take a moment and write down 3 words, how would they define you? I'll open up the chat here to see. Okay. Yeah, I really like that. Community builder, confident, strong communication skills. Amazing. I know a lot of you are on this call, so take a moment. There's no right and wrong answers. Feel free to think about what do you think some of the people around you kind of define you. If you don't know what your friends define you, maybe your sibling, somebody in your family. Ambitious, practical, friendly. Great. Confident, friendly. Energetic, good communication, hardworking, passionate, responsible, good communications. A lot of you are saying about communication skills, which is great. Perception, okay, skillful, technical thinker, strong leadership, amazing. Communication, I see a common pattern here. A lot of you talking about communication, that's amazing. Outspoken, ambitious, hardworking. Great. Okay, so keep them coming. This is something for you to do. Okay, I'll just read this. Usman said that busy, strong communication skill, diplomatic, and then colleagues, hardworking, good analytical skills, and quick. That's great. I like the analytical skills. Calm, assertive, structural. Great, amazing. So keep them coming. This is an exercise for you to think about. Why this is important is to reflect upon your brand. And these 3 words are basically the brand of how people perceive you, right? The reason I asked you this is to think and reflect about what do you think these folks around you think about you. And if you don't know the answer, maybe after this session, you should go and ask a few folks and get like a few responses and then see what is the common pattern. The reason for you to understand this is these are the people who have, let's say, grown up with you as your friends, and people who you have actually professionally worked with you look at you from that perspective, and they have a picture of you in your mind. There was this quote shared to me many years ago: we all have a version of ourselves in somebody else's mind. Today, when you're hearing this session, you have a version of me in your head, and you have a perception of me. And every one of you, like 50 plus people who are on this call, have a different version of me, right? So that is my brand, and that's how I am showcasing my brand to you. And you will get something out of it at the end of this session, and you will carry on my brand. And maybe in future somebody else talks about LinkedIn, and you can say, oh, we heard this in this session from Muazma, and this is what we know about her. So it's important that every interaction that you do, you think about from that perspective, because that interaction actually is the brand that you're showcasing on any of these digital media platforms, and LinkedIn is one of them. So it's very important that you understand that the professional context of it, and build that in a way that people understand what you are professionally, what are your top skills, why you're unique, and why you are you, right? Why should I hire you? So this is a good exercise for you to think about. And some of these words actually, especially the ones that that your colleagues actually use to define your people you have done professionally, any kind of projects or work with, those are the ones you can actually use in your LinkedIn profile, in your summary section and headline section, to actually showcase why you're unique. Because again, these, if just from this chat, you can see they're like everybody has a different version of it. No two people are exactly the same. So that's your unique, authentic self, and that's something that is true about you, and that's your professional brand. So I will just summarize this one last thing. When you go, let's say now that you have created a LinkedIn profile, if you search for your name, most of the time it should be the first search result that shows up. You have to make sure that that you stay active, right? Once you've created a LinkedIn profile and you forgot about it, then again, your search, you showing up in search will actually go down as well. And then the last but not least, I think it's the most obvious thing, is to be careful what you post, right? As I said, there are ways that you can go back and delete them, but a lot of these times it's really, really hard to actually completely get rid of some of this information what you post online. So again, you have to make sure that your professional brand is consistent with your values, is authentic to what you are, and it's important that you showcase the right skill set on any of these platforms, and especially LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is used for professional networking and connections. So let's start building a LinkedIn profile. First of all, in this section, I will talk about like what is a LinkedIn profile, why it is important, how do you set up an account. I'll talk briefly about the difference between LinkedIn and resume. This is a very common question a lot of people ask me. And then how do you actually make your profile stand out, and some of the features about your LinkedIn profile that maybe you don't know about, how they are important and why they're important. So first and foremost, if you don't have a LinkedIn account, please go ahead and create it, right? A lot of people ask that I'm a student, or maybe I'm just starting my career, should I have a LinkedIn or not? The simple answer is yes, you should, because as you're building on those skill sets, you need to build those connections, you need to build those network. That is really important for you to grow in your career, and it starts at LinkedIn. LinkedIn, as I mentioned, has so many amazing folks, and there's like no limit. They can be anywhere in the world, and you can get connected to them, and you can get inspired from them. Even LinkedIn has news and other things that you can learn. So it's a great platform for you to start your journey, your professional journey. So the first step is go ahead and create a profile. So the second question a lot of people ask is, what is the difference between LinkedIn and resume, and why they're different, in which ways they're different, which ways they're the same? Simple answer to that is resume is catered one-page document, especially if you're starting off your career, for the specific job that you are applying to. So let's say you are applying at two different companies. One of them is a data analyst job, and one of them is a business analyst job. Again, we can talk about more detail why they're two different, but let's say those are the two roles that you're applying in two companies. So your resume for data analyst should reflect the terminology and the job related skills for the job that you're applying. Your resume for the business analyst should talk more about business concepts, because the person who is hiring, or the system through which your resume will go through, the first thing it will do is it will do a word level search for the terms that are in the job description and the terms that are actually used in the resume. So resume is a very catered to a particular job. I always recommend you to have a generic resume, but whenever you're applying to a specific job, cater your resume to that job. Make sure you have the right terminology in your resume that you're applying to. And resume is a very short summary, because it's a one-page document most of the time. If you're maybe 5 years or 10 years of experience, then maybe a two-page document. But it's a very, very short summary of your experiences and skills. As compared to LinkedIn profile, I believe it's a 360-degree view of you as a person, because it's not just what your skills are, what your past experiences are. It has a lot more things and a lot more sections to highlight. It also has the post and articles that you can write, the activity that you do, the network that you build over there. So it basically is, as I said, a 360-degree view of you as a person in the professional context. So again, important for you to understand, this is a professional network. It's not for you to it's not similar to how you do Facebook or other places, other social media networks. So there are so many sections you can do things about, like you can also add certifications in LinkedIn. You can also do volunteer work. You can also do join groups and things like that. All of that you cannot put in your resume. So again, this is the main difference between the two. It is way more information about you. It has a lot more to offer than a typical resume. So that's the one thing I do wanted to make sure that you understand. And you can also have recommendations and people who can vouch for you on LinkedIn as well. And you can put that as part of your profile as well. What do people think about you? If you worked with somebody, you can ask them to give you a recommendation, and you can put that on your profile as well. So the first thing for LinkedIn profile is picture. A lot of you, maybe when you start a LinkedIn profile, you don't have a picture over there. Maybe you're not confident to put a picture out there. That's also okay, because there is an option to put a picture out there, but only people who you connect to can see that. I would not recommend you to do that. Again, this is a professional network. Whatever reasons you're not putting a picture on, you are actually losing out. And this is a start from LinkedIn. That if you have a picture, you have 21 times more chance to actually show up in more views, and people will go to your profile more than people who don't have pictures. So that's what just the data says, and I'm a data person, so I really believe in this. And then this is again a data point that if you have a picture, people have 9 times more connection requests as compared to not. Let's talk about a good picture. I go to a lot of these people like profiles, and I really don't know who's in the picture, because sometimes it's a crop out of a group picture, and it's really bad lighting, and it's really bad to actually see you as a person. So this picture is actually a way to highlight you as a person, whoever you are, however you're confident. It's a lot of people have avatars, a lot of different things. Again, if that is true to your brand, you can do that. Definitely do that. But I would recommend you to take a simple picture. Today, most of the cell phones can take really good pictures. Try to stand in front of some non-distracting background. Ask a friend or a family member to take a picture. It shouldn't be too close. It shouldn't be too far. And then you can use some of the other places to kind of do some basic editing on it if you want to as well. But it's a friendly first impression of you for anyone who's coming to your profile. And I cannot emphasize enough on it. Data shows that if you don't have a decent picture, there's way less chance of anyone to actually go and click on your profile. So I'll stop there, and I'll just say that if you don't have a picture, please, the first thing you should do today is take a decent picture, put it on your profile, and make sure it looks professional. Again, depending on what your personal brand is, what your professional brand is, and put that on your profile. Second thing is about the profile, and what do you do about profile. So this is how typical profile looks like. You have a picture, you have a cover picture, and then there is more information about you. There is the about section, and then there are so many other sections about you. So if you click at the me icon on the top over here, this is where it will take you. It will take you to your profile. And that's where you can actually start editing it. Some of the things, the very basic things that you should add is your location and industry. I know a lot of folks ask about, like, in the last year, since a lot of people are remote, is location still important or not? Data still shows that location is important, because a lot of recruiters, when they come on LinkedIn, they actually start their search by location. Even if they are hiring right now for remote jobs, people prefer to know people in the same region, because it's very hard for people to actually start, unless your company is completely remote and they're hiring offshore or in different places. Location is still important. So please make sure that you have location. And location does not have to be a typical zip code. You can do like a whole area. For example, I think in my profile, I say Seattle area. That's where I live, on the West Coast in the US, right? Some of the other sections is education certifications. If you are still studying, again, you can put your current university there. You can put the certifications. If you've done anything outside of your program or university, you can add that there. The other sections, of course, really important. The two most important sections is any work experience and internship experience. So you can do a start date and end date. You can write a little bit about that, and you can even do anything. Let's say you wrote a blog about your work, or something that got published somewhere about your work or project. You can actually put that as a link, as a highlighted section under that work profile as well. So that's a very important section. Spend some time on the right wording, right things that you should write about the project. One of the easiest thing to write is more of a STAR method. If you don't know about STAR method, it stands for situation, task, action, and results. So let's say you completed a project to solve a churn problem using machine learning algorithm, right? So how you would write that is you talk about the problem, which is the situation, what you did as a task in the second sentence, what are the actions that you did, what tools and skill sets and things that you used, and what were the results. The most important thing in this whole sentence or a couple of sentences is the results and the numbers. Let's say you decrease the churn by 2%, 5%, 50%, whatever is that. Put that in your profile. Put that as a sentence in your work experience or the project experience. The next section that is important is skills. So if let's say you know C++, Python, whatever those skills are, front-end, back-end development, blogging, HTML, whatever those skills are, you can actually today go and search for them. You will find them. Not just your technical skills, but communication skills. A lot of you talked about that in your brand statements. So definitely put those there as well. Again, LinkedIn has way more space. Resumes don't have that much amount of space. So you can actually put a lot more skills there if you want to, and eventually people can actually come and endorse you for those skills as well. The last two things is volunteer experience. Again, if you've done volunteering, like some of you have organized this event, so definitely go ahead and put that there, because that shows me that you actually go out of your comfort zone, you do more things than a lot of other folks that don't, right? So that is, again, something unique about you, so you can definitely add that in your LinkedIn profile as well. And any of the program or organizations that you work with, again, those are some of the important sections. I would take a second here. If anyone has any questions specific to the profile, I can answer those, but these are the very basic stuff that you should add in your LinkedIn. Even if you're a student, you would have something in any of these sections, especially in the work section. Let's say you don't have any experience yet, but you can put in the past projects over there for now. And once you start your job, eventually once you graduate from college, you can start adding your work experience and add that experience at different organizations there as well. So if anybody has any questions about the profile, please let me know in the chat, or we can move ahead. So the other thing in the profile that I did not talk about is headline. And that is really, really, really important. Why it is really, really important is when somebody searches for you, or let's say they search for data analyst in Lahore, this is the search that they're doing. What they all see is this. They actually see your picture, they see your name, and they see that headline. That's about it. So humans, like when they are searching, they have literally few seconds to decide who they should click or message. As a recruiter, or if let's say you are a recruiter or a hiring manager and you're searching, you literally have those few seconds to decide, right? So headline is really, really, really important. Why I talked about those 3 words earlier on, those are good starting point for you to actually write your headline. And you can be creative about it. You can write about your current job over there. There are so many different ways. There's no right and wrong way. You can try different things as well and see if by changing the headlines, do you get more views or not on your LinkedIn profile as well. But this is really, really, really important. So headline is this line, which is on top next to your name in your about section. And that's the only and the only thing other than the picture that is actually seen by people when they search for you, unless they are already connected with you and they know you, right? Which is really hard for some of the recruiters. So that's the first section you should really pay attention to. You can write about your current role over there. You can write about what are the things you're passionate about. You can go today on LinkedIn, find out some amazing headlines as well, and tweak them to your own brand, your own personal professional brand, which you want to showcase to anyone who comes to LinkedIn and in a glance wants to know more about you. So what is that 1 or 2 things that is the most important thing? This headline needs to be super concise. It's not a story about you. It's not like 50 sentences about you. I think there's a limit of words that you can put in there as well. But if you can just summarize that, there are some good examples on this slide as well. But depending on what you do, you have to make it unique about you. The second section, I think we've got a question. So let me get to that. What should we write in our about? Okay, great. So interest rate. Okay, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about next. So thanks, Usman, for your question. So what should you write about in the about section? The about section, a lot of people don't know that when anybody is coming to LinkedIn and they're searching, if your about section is less than 40 words or so, you will not show up in the first few pages of the search. So I don't know if it's a shocker for you or not, but when I knew about it, I was like, what? I did not know about this. So your about section should be at least 40 words or less to show up in the first few search results. And that's how just the algorithm works. I don't have anything to do with that. So what you do, this is a good framework of how you can write your about section, but you can be your own authentic self and change it as you wish. So the good summary, how I think you should be writing about it, how LinkedIn thinks you should be writing about it, is first 1 to 2 sentences could be about who you are. So you are XYZ person, you're passionate about XYZ, and you do XYZ, something like that. The next 3 to 5 sentences or a paragraph is about your experience, the key skill sets, that like the top. Don't write everything that you've ever done, but the top things that anyone wants to come into. And this should be catered towards not your current, but where you want to end up to. So think from a person who is trying to hire you and they're coming to your profile. How can you showcase the best version of you in these 40 words or so? To go to. And this is a section, again, this section a lot of people read. They don't actually go through everything in your each and every work experience. They read the about section, they scroll through your profile, and then they make a call about what to do next. So 3 to 5 sentences about experiences and top skills. If let's say you're data analyst and you've used SQL and you've used some other tools, just mention a couple of them. Don't mention each and everything. Just mention the top most important thing that somebody needs to know more about you. The last 1 to 2 sentences could be the things that you're passionate about or you want to do, what's next, something that you want to convey to them that you think is not reflected, let's say, in the rest of your profile. So those last 2 or 3 sentences could be about what your plans are, what you are thinking about, what are you currently working on, where you want to take yourself from today to like next 3 to 4 years or 5 years. So your future goals and is a great place to put there. Again, on the left side, this is a great example of somebody who wrote the about section or the summary section. Again, it should be 40 words or more to show up in the search results, in the higher search results, and this is a good kind of outline of how you can do that. I hope, Usman, you got some response or some answer for your question. And after the session ends, if somebody wants to actually send me your LinkedIn profile, I can easily review that and give you feedback on that as well. Yeah, so the cities question, I'll get to that towards the end of it. I understand why that question is coming from and why the location is an important thing. So that's a good question as well. So this is, so far what we talked about is picture, how the picture is important. We talked about the headline, to use your 3 words or 2 words or any of the important words that are unique about you as a brand in your profile. And we talked about the summary section. And then we briefly touched upon all of the other important sections that you need to put information in. And those are the skills, the past experiences, volunteers, location, interest, things like that. Those are all the different other sections as well. One of the other section that I don't have in these slides is a featured section. So let's say you have published a blog and somebody else has published something about you, or you've been in any article, if there's any mention of you somewhere, that's another great place to actually highlight. And you can write yourself, like, let's say you write a post, you can make it a featured post, and that will show up just after your summary section on the top. That's another section that I've seen from the data perspective, a lot of uptake, like a lot of people actually look at those and click on those links. Anything which is more visual has higher uptake. This is just how humans work. People actually don't have high, I would say, tendency to read more words. They tend to see or like more pictures or videos. So if you have anything like that, you can put that as your feature section and pin that on the top, so it will show up just after the summary section. So that's another place where you can showcase some of the interesting things. Let's say you have a YouTube channel or something else that is related to actually the work or the professional brand. You can actually make that as a featured post and put that in your top of your profile as well. So I will take a pause here. We have talked about 2 important sections so far. First section was what is your professional brand? The second section was LinkedIn profile, and we talked about important things in your LinkedIn profile. Next, we are going to talk about professional networking. How do you network effectively on LinkedIn? And what are the different ways what should you do actually on LinkedIn to network with other folks? And then the last section after this is about jobs, and I'm going to talk about that. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get to them towards the last 10 or 15 minutes of this session as well. So now that, let's say now I have identified my brand, what is unique about me. I've also went in and updated my profile. I've also added my picture over there. I've added a few sections. I've connected to a few folks, and I think it's decent and it's ready to go. What are the next steps you need to do, right? So for you to show up in these search results, for others to know that you exist, you need to connect with folks. Again, that's just how the world works, right? You need to connect with folks in the same area, in the same company, or the places that you want to actually get to. You can be strategic about them, and you can build over time. You can build the network over time. A lot of people say these days a network is your net worth, which is true in many ways, because a lot of hiring happens through connections. It happens through people knowing somebody. Because let's say if I have 50 resumes and all of them seem to be decent, right? But if there are 3 of them that I know somebody, or I know somebody who referred them, there's a higher chance, this is just my personal bias in that case, in an example, that I might take them to the next level as compared to somebody else. I'm not going to debate on what's fair and what's not fair, but this is just sharing that a lot of hiring still happens through connections, through people who know you, people who can refer you to a company. So it's really, really important that how do you actually find those people? Because if you're just in college, how you will actually go and somebody come and say that I want to hire this XYZ person, or I want to refer this XYZ person. So again, LinkedIn is a great place where you can start that, and you can start building that professional network. And there are so many ways you can do that. Before Corona, if there was conferences and places like that in person, you'll meet people and you'll share your card with them, right? Or you'll share your contact information with them. Today in the digital world, I think LinkedIn is a great place where you can build those connections and go to different events and things like that, and share your LinkedIn profile there and connect with those folks. And I'll talk more about like how do you start the network, connect with them, and then keep the connection up as well, because that's important. A lot of people only do networking when they need a job. That's totally wrong. And I am personally strongly against that. The reason is, for me to refer you, I need to know enough about you. And I cannot know enough about you just when you send me that note that can you please refer me for the XYZ role. That's not enough. I need to know enough about you for a few months at least to know that do you really have those skills? Have you connected with me in the past? Have you met before in the past? What are the key traits about you? Because if I'm putting my name next to your name and referring you to some company, I need to really know about you as a person and the skills, right? So again, professional network is really, really, really important. Early in your career, you can start working towards that. You have a greater and higher chance in future as well. So this is again another stat. 50% of the hires result from a personal connection, results from somebody who knows somebody. So that's just a fact, again shown by data in LinkedIn, that people refer people who they have been connected to a while, or who they know personally, or who they have actually worked with in the past. So what is a professional network on LinkedIn? So the people you connect to, so if you let's say go to anybody's profile and you click connect, and if they accept your connection, they become your first degree connection. Those first degree connections have, let's say, 20 other folks, 50 other, 60 other folks that they are connected to. So they are your second degree connection. So in a way, you are connected to them as well. Because if they have a network of people that you want to eventually connect to, you can always ask that first degree connection, can you please introduce me to that person? Because I am looking at that company, and this is what I'm looking at, and that's why I want to connect with them. So that's another way that you can actually get connected to them. And then they have another set of, and this you can imagine this is a very complex graph, and you can easily get connected to anyone in the world through this connection, because they would have first degree, second degree. When you go on anybody's profile, next to their name, and there is a number that shows that if they are the second degree, third degree, or third plus. So it just shows you that you are connected to them by how many hops, right? So this is one example over here. So you start with your first degree connections, then you build upon them and look at their connections, and then you can go from there. And be very strategic about it. You don't want to connect with anyone on the LinkedIn, right? You want to connect with the folks that are in your own field, that makes sense to you, and 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 can add any value. So one example is that, let's say you found somebody in your second degree network who is in the same field as you. You can write them a connection request. A lot of people actually just click connect and that's it. Again, I would say, no, I would highly encourage not to do that. Send somebody connection request. If you're sending somebody connection request, write a few lines why you're sending, why they should add you in your LinkedIn profile, why you should be connected to them. A lot of people accept anyone. That's okay, if they are fine with that. But for example, for me, most important thing is the quality, not the quantity, because a lot of people go for followers and these big numbers. To me, that is not important. To me, having even, let's say if I have 5 connections that I can turn to when I need a job, or when I need advice, or I need some tactical things to know more about the company that I'm applying to, then that is way more important to me to have, as compared to having, let's say, 30,000 followers or 30,000 connections on LinkedIn. And that's the limit, actually. I think you cannot go beyond 30,000 LinkedIn connections. So again, it's important that you send targeted message, spend a little bit time on that person that you're connecting to, look at their LinkedIn profile, do some research on them, and then spend, let's say, a few minutes writing a good message to them why you want to connect, why you are inspired by them, or why you want to connect with them. Even if, let's say, you're not inspired by them, but you're looking at that as a future, let's say, mentor or somebody who can connect you in the company in future, that's could be a good starting point for you. And what is the worst that would happen, right? They will not accept your connection request, which is fine. So don't get taken aback if they don't respond, right? Again, there's so many people on the LinkedIn, and I do believe a lot of people do respond. So that's the first step for you to build your professional network. There you can actually, this is the search where you can actually discover, you can search people by companies, you can search people by their titles, you can search people by the first degree, second degree connections, you can search any of the people who went to the same school or same college. And there's a section which says people you may know. So when you go on the main profile, LinkedIn has an algorithm which actually suggests you people you might know, because they are either common, they have common connections with you, or there's something. So that's a great place for you to start. Really, really highly recommend to connect with folks, but connect intentionally, not just connect with anyone. Connect with them and understand why you want to connect with them, and why they can add value to your professional network, and build that network over time. So as I mentioned, you can search by name, company, location, any keyword, and then basically send a connection request to them. And as I said, please take some time to customize the connection request, add a note, then that's really, really, really recommended. Once that somebody is connected with you, also think about like, how do you actually set up like a follow-up, right? So once somebody is connected with you, I do believe that I say this to a lot of my mentees is to keep that connection warm. What that means is set up, let's say, every 6 months a 15-minute quick chat with them. Reach out to them that you want to know more about their career. And truly, I believe a lot of people will not say no. If they have time, they would spend some time with you, especially if you're starting off your career. Set up a quick 15-minute chat with them, understand a little bit more about them, and tell a little bit more about you. Go into that session prepared, and then take on that. If let's say they are still somebody that can add value to you, do a follow-up, connect with them after 3 months, 6 months again, and make sure that you know and you build that over time. And if you have that kind of connection going on, I know in future, if they have an opening or a role and you've already talked about them, they know a little bit more about you, they might reach out to you and say, I met you, XYZ, this is a role I'm hiring for, are you willing to come and do that? So that's a good way. Again, building those connections, staying connected, adding value. A lot of people actually, as I say that a lot of people want to take. When I say take, is to ask for roles, ask for jobs, things like that. But my first rule is to give first, then to take. What can you add to their value? Even if somebody's senior, what can you add to them? how can you showcase your skills, any blogs that you've written, any projects that you've done, and build that connection over time. A lot of people just, as I said, connect when they need roles. That's not how you build networks. The network is like how you build social network, right? How do you build other people? You actually add value to their lives as well. So think about that from a professional perspective, build it over time, connect with them intentionally, and keep that connection warm. Those would be my kind of top suggestions for you. This is just again the summary of the same thing that I was just saying, that you can expand your network strategically. Who should you reach out to, right? You can reach out to people who you have something common with, who work in a company or a job that you really want to get into, who can help you achieve some of your goals. Let's say you are learning a new technical skills and they already have a blog about it and you think they are really good at that, you can really connect with them. And what you should say is like who you are, how you came across their profile, and how they can help you. Simple 3 or 4 sentences, send them a connection request. I'm more than confident that they would reply back to you. And even if they don't, it's okay. As I said, like what's the worst? It's fine if they don't respond. So now let's say they have connected with you. You can continue that connection. You can build that over time. You can set up time with them. You can ask them. You can message them over time as well. Don't do like overkill of things. Don't do like send them a message every single day. Don't do that. Just like the normal things that you do in like a normal setup, just apply that in this case as well. You can ask them for informational reviews, informational interviews. That's something a lot of people don't know, right? Let's say somebody is working in a company that you really want to go and work in, and now they are connected to you. So you can ask them, can I set up like quick 30 minutes to know a little bit more about your company? And why? Because you need to know if that company is the right fit or not. You can ask them questions like, what do you do in a day? What are the key deliverables? Go in again in that session with those questions, and go from there. So that's another thing you can do, and that's how you can build that connection a little bit more. You can ask them about questions about the company and the work they do, and if they are at liberty to share, most of them will share that with you. Eventually, let's say now they know you enough, they can do referrals for you, and you can request referrals for them as well when a job is open in that company. You can request recommendations also. So you can ask somebody else in the LinkedIn to actually recommend you for something that you've done in the past with them. And then you can put that recommendation, approve the recommendation, and it will show up in your LinkedIn profile as well. And last but not least, add value and engage. It's really, really important that you add some value as well. You shared some posts, you shared some links, you like, share, retweet. How you do it like Twitter as well, like you retweet and things like that, similar like that. In LinkedIn, you can reshare, you can like, you can comment, and those are some ways that you can stay active as well. So those are some, I would say, networking advice that I have for you. Start building connections first, making sure the connections are active. The third thing you do is you can reach out to them for some of the things that are important to you as well. Yeah, this is another stat. Again, it's 4 times more likely that you will get hired when referred as compared to somebody who's not referred. This is the reality. So definitely use LinkedIn for that purpose. The last thing I wanted to add is to kind of value and engage. So these are some of the ways you can invest time by setting up calls, setting up time with those folks. You can like and share. You can join groups. So if, let's say, you want to become a data scientist, and there are so many data scientist groups on LinkedIn as well, or they're somewhere outside, but you find those folks over there. So you can join those groups and engage in conversations and ask questions over there. That's another way to get noticed by some of those folks that are in the same field. And you can give testimonials as well, not just always receive, but if you've worked with somebody, if you've done a project with somebody, you can give them feedback, give them recommendation, or give them response as well. So those are some ways how you can add value and how you can stand out again in the sea of so many hundreds and thousands of profiles on LinkedIn. So now we've talked about 3 important things. We started with the professional brand. Then we talked about LinkedIn and LinkedIn profile. And then we talked about networking on LinkedIn. So the last quick thing that I have for you is search for jobs on LinkedIn. How do you search for jobs? A lot of you will be graduating soon, or you're already graduated, and you're looking for jobs. And that's the number one reason why people come on LinkedIn. But why I want to talk about that at the last is you cannot just go on LinkedIn and look for jobs if you have not done these first 3 steps. It's really, really hard to get a job through LinkedIn if you have not done these first 3 steps. To build your professional brand, build a strong profile, and then build those connections. Finally, like now that you've done these 3 steps, or at least started or doing these steps, then you can actually look at some of the jobs, and you can look at those jobs today. Some ways that you can do, this is just another fact, there's 34 million plus job seekers. So you are one of those, let's say, if you're looking for a role, you are one of those 34 million plus people who are looking for roles. So it's not just you. There's so many other people who are looking for roles. So again, why it is important that you bring your own self and you're unique about yourself, and why you should have a strong profile and strong connections around you, because there's so many other people around you as well. You have to stand out in the sea of so many other profiles. So this is the first thing I wanted to share. This is a newer feature that you can show up in your profile, which is open to work. This is how it works. You can see it in the GIF on the left hand side. You can choose if let's say you're already working in a company, you don't want that people, like especially people in your company, to know. You can actually show up only for the folks who are not in the same company as well. So there's an option for that. But I would recommend you to go for this option if you are really, really looking for jobs. If you're like cold searching right now and not really in the market, then maybe don't do that. But this is a good feature for you to showcase. Right on your profile, it shows that green circle around you, which is that you're open to work. That's a good way for any recruiter to know that you are looking for roles. The next thing is search for career opportunities, right? So again, go in the job section. You can search by keyword, function, company, title, location. Like there's so many different filters that you can add. And once you're happy with your filter, you can actually save that filter as a search, that search filter as a search, and you can get alerted if something comes up in future. So that's again a great feature. So definitely take some time, even if you're not, and actually roles and look at those roles, read those roles descriptions, look at the skill set they're looking for, and try to map your career progress to that role. So let's say you are right now in the 3rd year of your degree and you have 1 more year to go. This is a great place to start and see what roles are in the market, what are they looking for, what are your current skills, and what's the difference. And you can start thinking about that. So this is a great place again to look at that, not just in Pakistan. You can look at anywhere in the world, and that's another great way for you to know where you stand from everybody else in the world, and how you can start building the skill set that you have today. So once you're happy with the search results, save that as a alert. And you can put it as daily or at another frequency. And you can also that is sent and matches. You can go take a look at it and take an action on it. So this is a great feature for you to start looking for jobs on LinkedIn today. Even if you're not looking for jobs, you can start looking at the description for those, for it, and planning for it. Once you work with them, it even shows you people who work at those companies. If you're connected to those people, it will show you right next to it as well. So it's a great way for, let's say you want to work in XYZ company, you look at that job, it will show you that you're connected to these 5 people who work at this company. So that's a great way for you to know. I can send them a message, know a little bit more about their company. And if they are in the same team, then that's even better, right? You can ask more questions about that role that you're thinking about, and maybe ask them for a referral as well. Some of the other things that people don't know that you can do on LinkedIn is you can follow companies. Again, if you have these top 5 companies that you want to go and work at, if you have a list of companies that you really, really are inspired by, or you like the work they do, or you know that their culture is really great, you can follow those companies. Why it is important is that when you go into interview process eventually, if you follow them, you already know a lot of great news about them. What are their values? What do they post mostly about? So that's another way. Recruiters actually, when they search, a lot of recruiters, when they search, some of them actually look at if you've been following them or not. Again, I don't know for sure how much is the difference between that in terms of data, but it's a great way for you to actually know a little bit more about the company and follow them. Some of the other things that you can do on LinkedIn, and I'll just wrap up in next 2 minutes or so, is you can actually go to LinkedIn Learning. So there is the premium section of LinkedIn. There's some paid version. There's 1 month free that I think you can get a few months of that renewed over time as well. But there's this opportunity on linkedin.com where you can go. There's a lot of amazing courses over there, and then there's LinkedIn Premium and LinkedIn Learning. There are lots of amazing courses almost in any topic possible in the world. They have really good courses with industry specialists over there. So this is again a great place to go and learn stuff, not just connect and find jobs, but also learn the skills that you want to do also. So LinkedIn has those features as well. Join groups, I already mentioned them. There's so many groups already on LinkedIn that you can join. You can connect with other folks in the same industry or the common interest that you have with them. And then again, that is another great way to build that network. So with that, this is my last slide. I have one exercise for you to do at home, which is that today, after that you've learned, I've been talking for a long time. I actually need a break for a few seconds here, but you have to go in today, you have to write your brand statement. Like if I asked you, tell me about yourself, what are you going to tell me in 3 sentences or 2 sentences that is unique about you? So taking those 3 words that I started this conversation with, write your brand statement. And that brand statement is unique about you. And use that brand statement in your headline and your summary sections. The next thing you're going to do is, if you don't do anything else, but do these 3-4 things. Go in your LinkedIn, create your LinkedIn profile if it's not there. Add a picture, update your headline and summary sections, and add your skills and a couple of experiences or projects that you've done. And with that, I would say just all the best. I do have some resources for you on this tiny URL link, especially it has a resource for students. What should they do in your LinkedIn profile? It has, again, these are official resources from LinkedIn. They're not made up by me. So feel free to go to that link and do that. I'll put that in the chat as well, so you have it. And that's about it. So that's all the prepared material I had. I know we are a few minutes over our time, but I have a few minutes. I can stay on and I can take questions as well.
Thank you so much, man, for sharing your knowledge with us. I am going to drop a feedback form in the chat box, so every attendee should have to fill this for e-certificates.
Also, please put down your questions for Q&A on the chat box.
Yeah, I just shared the resources link. Okay. So there was a question before about cities. I will get to that and then get to the small talk question. So cities, I understand if you're not in the let's say main cities, there are a lot of these recruiters that are hiring from. Then you really have a choice. Do you want to put that on your LinkedIn profile or not? Because if those companies are doing remote roles from your own city, I still believe that showing your authentic self is important. So I would still, if it was me, I would still put my city. But if you think that is something that is acceptable in the current job market, especially for us not to put that as well. So I would recommend take your judgment call based on that and choose based on that. And that is that is a good representation of you as a best person to hire. But some of the recruiters are biased, right? They're either biased from the universities that you go to or the cities that you come from. So in those cases, I would recommend that you don't write the actual city. But if I was you, I would write it. But that's just my personal choice. The second question is, how should we initiate small talk with HR recruiters, right? So I personally stay away from recruiters a lot. The reason is recruiters come to a platform when they have an opening. A lot of time they are coming to these platforms when they are hiring for folks, and they always have a definite kind of agenda when they're looking for that. Unless you know the recruiter personally or you build the connection over time, it's really hard, because recruiters actually, just imagine, like some of these companies, some of the great companies, they get like hundreds of messages. They get lots of these messages, and a lot of the time they will not respond because they have a specific job to do, which is to hire folks. And on the other side, there's so many people who are looking for roles, so they always reach out to them all the time. So there's a higher chance they might not respond. So some of the ways that I connect to recruiters is not, let's say, on LinkedIn, but in person, like events where there are hiring events. There are hackathons people do where recruiters are also there. So connect with them over then, and then at the end of that connection, just send them a connection request, and then do the small talk. So I would say go that route more than to send them cold messages saying that I see this position or something like that, because recruiters really get a lot of messages, and most of them don't respond to those messages because their job is to find folks. You do have a higher chance if you connect with a hiring manager or somebody in the team who can do a referral as compared to recruiters. Again, this is how just the system works. So I would start with building connections, most probably in person and other events, and send them connection request. If they accept your connection request, that's a great way with a message that you sent on that. That could be a starting point. Maybe set up a short call with them if they are open to it. A lot of them will not. This is just my experience, because recruiters really don't engage with people at individual level. They are always after, like, if they really want somebody, they will either reach out to you, or if they have an open position that they want to hire for. Okay. Next question. I'm having two different professions. Should I have two separate accounts for that? No. You should always have a single account. When you say two different professions, I would actually take a very hard look at what is common between them. What are the interchangeable skills between them, and showcase those. Let's say you're a freelancer, you do something on the side, and at the same time, you have some other work, things that you do. You can showcase both. For example, I am a president of a nonprofit. At the same time, I work in Microsoft Azure. I actually have two open positions in if you go to my LinkedIn, you'll find out both as my position. And I mentioned them in my headline as well, because both of them are equally important to me in many ways. So I put them as one thing, unless you think that the one thing actually takes away from the other. Even in the same time, you should not have two profiles, because if I go today and search for you, I would get confused why you have a second profile. And there's a higher chance I would think that this is a spam or somebody else, and this person is not real or something like that. So try to put that in a single profile. Try to put that in a way that, if let's say you have a business on the side, what are your entrepreneur skills over there? So put them there, because that is true. You have those skills as well as compared to something else that you do. So I would recommend have a single profile. If you're okay to put both as your current positions, put them there. If you're not, maybe don't put that explicit position, the second one that you don't think is very important for the recruiters or the hiring people that are coming to your profile, but actually put those skills and experiences as projects or something like that in your profile. So I would do that way. Don't have to, please don't. It's just as simple as that. Next question. Please suggest some skills that are going to be needed if you're higher LinkedIn. Okay. That's a good question. I always push back on that question. I know it's important for you to know where the future is going. Are you relevant or not in the current industry? And are you important? Your skills are important in that or not? But I'll give you an example. So data science is the latest buzz, right? Literally everybody that I talk to wants to become a data scientist. But they don't have the same analytical skills, or they don't have, let's say, the math skills or something like that. So I would push you on that side, like when you are, let's say, thinking about some of the most in demand skills in the market, I will ask you, what are the things that you are passionate about? Are you passionate about solving data problems? Are you passionate about solving finding data patterns? Are you solving about those things? If you are, then yes, go for data science. But let's say you are good in front end or web development, then don't think to actually go towards data science just because it's the latest in buzz or more jobs are in the market for that, right? Because even if you do that, in a few years you will get burned out. You will be like, I cannot do this. It's not something I like to do. So in your projects in your university, try to do some reflection. That's why I did that brand thing as well. Do some reflection on you. What are the top 3 or 4 skills that you have? What are the things that you enjoy in your projects that you've done recently? And think about the roles that map to it, and then plan your future accordingly. And even if you start in some role, in a few years you will know that is this the right fit or not. That's why a lot of people pivot. A lot of people transition from software development to test to program manager and product manager, and so many different roles, right? So I would recommend you to take that approach than to just look at just from a very high level. I'm not talking about the technical skills, but teamwork, people who can work well with others, people who are empathetic, people who have a higher EQ, not your IQ, EQ, emotional intelligence. I have seen them grow really, really faster as compared to people who are, let's say, the best technical software engineer ever. Right? So if you have those skills and you know you're good in communications, those are the skills of the future. I do believe the tech stack actually changes every 3 to 5 years. So if you have that growth mindset to quickly pivot and learn new things, those I do believe are the skills of the future. And when I'm hiring, I'm always looking for that. I'm always looking for folks who can learn fast, who can understand when they fail, learn from their failures. I ask a lot of questions about that in the interviews as well. So those are some of the skills I would really, really encourage you to think about when you are looking at your career trajectory as well. Next question. I have a question regarding the LinkedIn skills leading to certificates. There are LinkedIn courses leading data. So the students who from fields other than I don't understand your question fully, Fatima. Are you saying, yeah, so on LinkedIn profile, you can do LinkedIn learning based courses and then showcase that. Or there are other certificates also that are official partners for LinkedIn. So you can put an official certificate on your LinkedIn. Even if they are not official partner, if you want to showcase on your LinkedIn, you can, like I've seen people take a picture of the certificate and then put that on your LinkedIn profile and make that as a featured post on your LinkedIn. So those are all the 3 ways you can do it, right? You can do LinkedIn learning based course and you can showcase that. By default, it would show up and you can make it public. The second thing you can do is do the certificates, let's say at Coursera or Udemy, some of these ones. They have official connection with the certification section in your LinkedIn that you can put, so you can showcase that in your LinkedIn. They show up as official certificates if you have actually did the paid version of it. I think most of them are paid, and then you have to do that. And the last one is, let's say you've done a third-party certificate, you did a boot camp or something like that, which is not officially affiliated with LinkedIn. Whatever certificate that you have there, you can take a picture of it or the PDF version of it and then upload that as a post and write a little bit about it, a few sentences, and then make that post a featured post if you want to be highlighted that you've done that certificate. So those are some ways you can highlight that. Yeah, so should we use keywords? Yeah, keywords, again, as I said, that is the only place where somebody is going to make a decision about you, right? So you have to be strategic what words you use that. Even if you're using keywords, do they align with the job that you are trying to get to? Not what you do today, but what you want to get to in the future. So yeah, if you want to use keywords, that's good. But when somebody searches for something, the result that shows up, it's not just based on headline, it's based on the rest of your profile. So those keywords are not, the headline keywords would not make a huge difference per se. That's what I'm trying to say. Headline is going to make way more impact if you catch my attention in a few seconds by whatever you wrote over there. So if that includes keywords, that's okay, but that's not the only reason why you should write your headline. That's just what shows up in the initial search. What specific aspects, features does hiring authority focus on while going through your profile? Yeah, it totally varies by the person. All of the things that are talked about are important, right? Your work experience, skills, your summary section, at least those three, and then the location and stuff. So you have to understand the journey, right? When I'm trying to search for something, first I'll search for it, and then whoever shows up, I'll go and connect on that. If I'm not already connected to you, or if I don't already know you, right? If I already know you and your profile actually came through a resume or a referral, then I'll go and click on your LinkedIn profile and just double check what you wrote on your resume and get more context from you. So it depends on where I'm coming from, what I'm trying to do. So all of the things that we talked today are important, and I would say, these are all important things. And a good way for you to know, I will share two more tips. There is a section in jobs which says jobs for you, or jobs like you, or something like that. If you go to that section and if you see the jobs that you really are looking for are the ones that show up, then that is a great way to know that your LinkedIn profile is actually catered towards that, which means it has the right keywords. If you go to that section, you find out like jobs which makes no sense to you, then that means that you have to do more work on your role, because that is actually based on an algorithm that actually uses terms in your profile. So that's one tip I wanted to share with you. The second tip I have is find for like people like you, right? There's a section for that, like people like you. If you go to that section, find people like you. If you think those are the folks that you really want to like work, like if they're working in a similar role that you want to eventually get to, then that's again a great way. It shows that your LinkedIn profile is already tuned, it's correct, and it has all the right keywords. But if you see that people like you show up like very random folks who have nothing to do with you or your work or the things that you want to like get to roll, then that is again a great sign for you to go back and tweak to different sections of your profile, use the right summary, use the right headlines, use the right keywords throughout your LinkedIn profile. So those are the two kind of high level tips I would share. Last question, do LinkedIn skill badges matter? They do, but I don't think there is a data that shows that those actually make or break the deal, right? So LinkedIn badges, they are good for the engagement. A lot of people show that, and then when they get a badge, they actually post about it as well. But I don't think the data shows that they actually that makes a huge difference. That's per se. So you can, I mean, it's good to have them, but I don't think if let's say you're doing all the other things right, is this the only thing that will make or break? That's not the case. So you can definitely showcase them, but I don't think it's something that is really like the highest priority thing. So I don't see any more questions. Again, this is the resources link. I'll share one more time. I know there was a link shared for the feedback, so definitely share your feedback. If some of you after this session want me to review your LinkedIn profile, you can definitely do that. I would be happy to review it. I know somebody just posted, send me a message on this as well. So I would be happy to do that. This is my, as I said, LinkedIn and Twitter and Linktree, where you can find me on other social media platforms as well. I do write on Medium as well, some blogs time to time. So I will get back to you over there. I don't promise that it will be in this weekend or maybe next weekend, but it will take some time. But I will get back to you, and I can review your LinkedIn profile, especially LinkedIn profiles. And since this session was about LinkedIn profile, if you learned something, definitely I would like to see that you go and update the LinkedIn profile, stay connected on the LinkedIn profile, and let's say you met me today and you want to connect with me LinkedIn, then send me a connection request with a message saying that why do you want to connect with me, and we can go from there as well. So With that, again, thank you so much for having me. Hope you learned something new. If not new, at least some things to go and work on today on your LinkedIn profile, and build your network and start looking for roles that you want to work in the industry in future or currently. And hope to see you more on LinkedIn.
Great, thank you so much, ma'am. To conclude and add an ending note, I would like to call Dr. Hina Sharyar. She is the Assistant Professor of Air University Computer Science Department and the Advisor of Air University Women in Computing to share a few words. Over to you, ma'am.
Assalamu alaikum, Muazma. This is Hina Sharyar, and I am Faculty Advisor for University of Women in Computing. First of all, thank you for providing us with an amazing platform in the form of Pakistani Women in Computing. I believe it is a huge leap towards women empowerment. Next, I would like to express thanks for speaking to Air University Women in Computing chapter today. It was indeed a very helpful session for all career hunters to show their online presence. The part I like the most is the professional networking, that how important it is and how we can strategically expand our network, because I believe that networking is the key to successful careers. Me and my team are so grateful for your time and your efforts that you have shared your expertise with us. Your explanations were very timely. And after this session, the first thing I will do is I think I will back to my LinkedIn and do it all over again and send it to you for review. I think I have increased your tasks. Because before that, I never thought of expanding my network the way you have explained. Thank you once again for your talk. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hina, and definitely look forward to look at your LinkedIn profile as well. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. I know we went a little bit over time, actually 21 minutes over time, but I hope it was useful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We're so grateful to you. And you can reach out to Muazma on her LinkedIn, which will be shared in the chat box. And don't forget to fill the form for feedback. And yeah, thank you so much, Ma'am Muazma. Great. Thank you everyone for joining. And
thank you. Bye. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Allah Hafiz.